I really appreciate you guys listening to me for 2 hours, and I'll be very happy to answer some questions. Meanwhile, I have some parenting books that people ask me, and I want to put it here. We can answer questions while you are looking at some of the slides. I highly recommend the nonviolent communication because it really is not just your communication with your children. It's about everybody's connection with each other. And the violence does not mean physical violence necessarily. It also means emotional violence, verbal violence. Unconditional parenting is the application in parenthood from the nonviolent communication. And this book is really a wonderful classic. The 5 Love Language also has to do with that. And the last one is about the introvert. These days, I call this COVID era the revenge of the introvert. 所以这些书都非常好。最后一本就是讲安静。我说现在的这个新冠就是revenge of the introvert， 就是内向的人开始称王称霸。因为我们现在有 social distancing， 像我这样外向的人就只能关在家里跟你们聊天了。OK？ 所以这个是这个 parenting 的书。这个 history and social science 有很多很多好的书。尤其现在在那个风起云涌的这个 civil rights movement， 我这里面已经列了很多跟非裔和少数民族有关的书了和电影了，尤其是 ESPN 30 for 30， 我儿子介绍给我非常好，所以这个是我在3年以前写的 slide， 所以当时就已经我们意识到很多亚洲小孩子在美国的困难。然后呢 emotional health 这个是跟那个有重复的，但是这里面有 Three Idiots 啊 Dead Poets Society Boyhood 都是非常好的电影，跟自我的发展很有关系，尤其是 Three Idiots。 这个 Vignette for Asian American Teens 是 Stanford 的一个心理学家 Ronald Hu 他演的，就是不同的家长和孩子的关系，演得特别好玩。其实每家人家可能都有天天在做这个事情。最后呢 Asian Identity， 这个我当年呢也写了很多电影，但是这次就是在5月份Asian Pacific Islander Month 他们放了这个 PBS 的 Asian American documentary， so I used to post it for all the other movies except the PBS Asian Americans were just out in May, so I highly encourage everybody to see it because that's really an important chapter for you and for our second generation。红豆年糕就是 Korean 的 movie， 跟我 Chinese 和 Japanese 的 some movie. And finally, for math, there's some more movies. So I usually end with some quote. Now this is when I need to test you guys. Who knows where this is from? These 4 words. I can bet you nobody knows where it's from. Oh yeah, I'll go through the movie as I'm answer questions. So I just want to go through it right now. So who knows where these 4 words are from? I bet nobody knows. Xunzi. I'll take 3 answers and then I'll tell you where it's from. One says 荀子, the other says 梁启超。我信仰的是趣味主义，这是梁启超说的。对 ，Sunny， 所以 you're not wrong in one of the sentences。前面那一句是梁启超说的。One more? Just make a guess. I'm just so proud of myself for getting it. That's why I'm just playing with you guys. Okay, not 周一 either, Wang Yangming. Yeah, it's not from me either. 曾国藩. So, how many of you have seen 陈情令? The movie or the TV show? No? Nobody has seen it? I'm sure some of you have seen it. Do you know where this is from? This is from when they first started in the school. 在姑苏兰市他们第一次去上学。 结果就在上学的一开始，他们就写了这个校训。我一看这个校训，我觉得非常好，但是我去翻那个书，就是叫陈清丽原来那本书里面没有。So if you guys watched it, you're welcome to go back to when they first started school in the Lance Academy. Then you'll see that it's there. So I took a picture of it while I was watching, and I really appreciate it. So you want to understand the essence. You want to really discuss and tell the difference between the essence and the surface, superficial things. And you want to speak it up. And then you want to do what? You want to keep on seeking for the truth. So then I also put in the Robert Frost's Two Road Diverge in the Wood, and I took the one less traveled, and that has made all the difference. So these are my 3 children. I think some people may want me to tell more stories about them. I'd be happy to tell you if it's related. But I think what happens is I want to give you the essence of my idea first, and the essence of my theory, so that you may what I want to emphasize is you actually, what my thinking goes is all the way from the theory down to everyday practice. It's coming from the theory. Okay. Yeah, so this is my WeChat ID and my website. You're welcome to, I will, I think, put it up on the website, my video. I don't know how to send you the PPT, but if you have the video, you should be able to have it, right? So I'm going to answer some questions right now. Yeah, so I'm going to go back after you copy this down to the math list, because some people want it. So I'll just put it here for a few minutes while I answer the questions. The first one, I'm struggling to a lot about developing my kids' self-motivations. My kids are 10 and 7, 8 years old. They won't do anything unless I yell at them, including brushing their teeth, doing homework, and any other activities. I feel so tired of keeping up with everything. How can I change this? That's like what? 99% of the parents feel that way when they are 7 and 10. What do you think would be a good idea, guys? You guys can help me answer this, parents. One person says, do it with her. You mean brushing their teeth, doing homework with them? Another parent also asked me about brushing the teeth. That seems to be difficult, huh? It's a lot of people's difficulty. I think I want to go back to that. I want to go back to that story of the levels of different development. When they're 7 and 10, yes, you do want to remind them that they need to do it. But reminding once and reminding hundreds of times is different. There's a matter of degree. So yes, you may want to remind them a few times, but you may want to wait and see whether they are actually able to do some of it. Maybe they don't brush their teeth every single night as you want. Maybe they did it 2 nights in a row. Then you lavish them with praises and encourage them to keep up with the good practice. So oftentimes, I also help them make a chart so they can check it off themselves. So the essence is that they want to be more, hold on one second. They want to be more motivated than you are in terms of them brushing their teeth. That's the essential things. Sometimes it's difficult, especially in brushing the teeth, but that's the goal, is you want to show that you don't want to be more interested in it than them. They need to be more interested. And that's how you gradually shift the burden to them instead of to yourself. Okay? Because by the time that they are 12, 13, that you want to develop the fact that they are gradually able to be responsible for themselves. And there's the natural consequence. So when I don't brush my teeth very well, sometimes I have difficulty with flossing. Then when I go to the hygienist, she gave me a hard time. She keeps on saying, oh, you need to do better. So then that's my natural consequence, not brushing it well. So I learned to do it better. So the kids may have to do a few things like that in order to learn to brush their teeth. And if they do homework and they didn't submit, you may need to let it happen a few times. Then they will learn the consequence from the teacher when they don't submit their homework. So you want to make a pattern so that they're more interested in it, they're more motivated to do it than you are, because it's their own homework. The Asian kids, one parent said, how to strengthen my kid's Asian identity in a location with very few Asian. He's also having trouble resisting temptation in high school. I think that's a really big question. I really, really try to do. So guys, as I'm answering question, I'm just going through the slides between the few ones that you're interested in. And you need to pay attention to where things are. Otherwise, I can't just go back and forth all the time. So I did the math. Now I'm going to do the,红豆年糕, exactly that I want to get to. So being Asian kids, we have what's called the minority, visible minority. They can see that you are. And everybody asks me, where are you from, right, guys, when you go out in the street. So I started them from very young. I think that what happens is, no matter where you live, whether you're in China or here, your visible minority reflects your Asian heritage. So I really want them to be proud of their heritage so that they feel they have a root, even though they may be the root of their grandparents or their parents. But I want to introduce the best part of Chinese culture to them very young. So that's why my most favorite thing in the world for Chinese culture is this one, 汉声中国童话. It's 360 stories that covers both the 4 best novels as well as lots of stories from history, as well as lots of fables and lots of, what do you call it, legends. 女娲补天啊, 夸父追日啊, as well as lots of local legend. And I think that they need to feel the joy in hearing these things and to feel they're connected to the ancient people in the same type of happiness, same type of sadness, 喜怒哀乐, so that they can connect with them. So that's one thing. When they are older, 12 and 13, it's starting to be more difficult because one of the math coach, Potion Low, who's a US math coach, told me, he was discussing with me a few years ago. He said, do you know the Asian boys are having a huge identity crisis? I said, why? He said, that's because when they were young, before middle school, they are mostly with their parents and they have all these Chinese or Asian type of life. The moment they get to be more with their peers, they suddenly realize things that they know, the peers don't know, and what the peers know, they don't. So they have a huge difficulty in that. And I think we have to recognize that's the case for our kids. We can't stand on our ground and say, okay, I know all these Chinese poetry. How come you're not interested? Or I want to send you to Chinese school. How come you don't want to? You have to see where they are and start to be understanding of their interest. They may not directly go to Chinese as we want, and they may do things that they want to fit in. Maybe in the beginning, they may do something quite silly, but the more acceptance you give them, the more love and understanding you give them, the more strong their mind would be in resisting the wrong things. I have a kid that was, I think, sent to different schools, but she has more and more difficulty because there are less and less Asians in the school. So she eventually came home despite the fact that academically those schools are better, because she really needs to be with people she's more familiar with. So that's one thing. And with very few kids, I think you can still create a micro environment of your strength with some of these stories. I still love them. I still listen to them with my kids. My husband even likes them. how to read more books instead of watching TV. So now, did you figure out what's the difference between reading books and telling and watching TV? Anybody? Delay gratification, yeah. Yeah, reading books takes more of a the mind is more active, right? Yeah, your mind is more engaging. And watching TV, you're bombarded with input. So it may look like it's noisier, it's more engaging because of all the noise and sound and visual image, but your mind may be more passive. So he does have a point. How do we get kids to read more? My husband offered a possibility. He said when he was young, there was no TV, no radio, so he was more deprived. Deprivation may be part of the path. We don't make things very available to them, electronic media, as well as TV. So they do have time to read, especially the younger kids. So I am very much against doing all the study online. I think I was just teaching this paper book, and paper writing is very important. On the other hand, I know that a lot of kids are reading online. So a paper book may not be 100% necessary. They are reading a lot of information input online. So I think it's both ways. You have to recognize they're different from us, but we can have certain amount of deprivation so that they can be more focused on reading. And you can ask them, talk to them about what they're interested in reading instead of you pushing your book to them. Let me look at the next one. My son will be a 10th grader. Like many teens, he wants to do well, but often gets distracted and wasting a lot of time online, YouTubing, gaming. If I set guidelines, he say I'm controlling him. He wants independence. Honestly, I don't want to nag or please him. So I will do as he wants, but I don't understand the next sentence. But basically, the parent says, where is the matter? Where is the degree? I think she's right. It's a matter of degree. What I talked about is the trust that we build with our children. Let me see if I can go back. How do I go back just a whole slide? So when we go back to the trust, when we trust our relationship with them, the children will trust actually over the time. Okay, let me tell you the truth. Children are very, very good in figuring out what we want. 小孩子哈，他非常非常清楚，就是说我们做一件事情的背后的原因，其实我们很难瞒住他。比如说，我一直跟孩子说，我就举个例子啊，我自己不这样，我一直跟孩子说，这个，每个进那个哈佛的孩子，我都跟我们家孩子说，我说，哎呦，那个孩子进哈佛，哦，这个孩子进 Stanford， 那我孩子知道，接下来我要讲那句话，那你能不能去上一个写作课呢？肯定是为了让这个孩子进大学，就是说孩子能够非常清楚的知道我自己的动力在哪里。他如果不认可这个动力，那他对我以后讲的那些鼓励他做的事情，他可能就不太认可了。Because they realize what our motivation, and if they don't acknowledge our motivation, they don't agree with it, then they're not gonna trust us because they know we have a hidden agenda. So I think what happens is the hidden agenda is something you really need to focus on yourself. Do you have that agenda? And if your kids do not align with your agenda, are you okay with it? Because that will make your request to them much less effective if they don't agree with your agenda. So if you truly are caring about their, he wants doing well, you can find different ways to help your children. That's not necessarily keeping on telling them one thing while when they hear something else. That's because you have a hidden agenda. Okay, so there are more questions. Let me take a look. You mentioned that your interest is very important. My kids like drawing. She spends a lot of time on drawing digital figures online. She also takes classes from an art teacher, but she reluctantly spends time on her art assignment. Yeah. How would you explain? Well, the truth is, our teachers are all different. Maybe there's a reason. You can ask your daughter, why does she not like the art assignment? And why does she like the digital figure that she draws? It's, what I'm saying being objective is you can listen to her reason and not dismiss it as an excuse. I think you'll learn a lot from your kid, why something is good, why something is bad. And if they make their choices and you may not like it, for example, I don't know how old your kid is. Maybe this year she, gave up a very good teacher, but she'll see in the year that, that art teacher is really good. I should have gone on with her. Then she can go back. So she learned a very important lesson, which is how to judge whether the art assignment is good or not. Yeah, that's one. The second is how to handle the situation the kids are playing game, chatting anytime they can find. Yeah, we try to block these and they find a way to bypass it. Oh, tell me about it. My oldest son was doing that when he was 8th grade, playing games. So we first sort of blocked the way. The second part is we gave him a set amount of time. We said that you have 2 hours when he was 8th grade. You can do all your, computer times within that time. And if you're not able to finish homework, then that means you do too much other things within that 2 hours. So you can have a compromise with your kid. It's not 0 or 100%. It may be that you can give him a few, depending on the age, give him a different amount of time. Oh, I also want to mention the COVID, right? Given COVID situation, they are really not able to go out too much. And you have to acknowledge their needs for friendship, like me having friendship with you guys. So you have to give them more allowance. Just treat them as other human. Think of your CV a failure and treat them like that. Can you please show the slide? If my daughter does not like math, what should I do? Give it up. Well, it's also a matter of degree. Like I said, for example, I want my kids to learn reading. Can she say that she doesn't like reading and she's not going to learn? Why do we not allow kids now to learn reading anymore? First of all, we know that reading is becoming the essential survival skill. So that's one thing. The second is, so you need to realize not liking math doesn't mean that maybe mean completely different things to her and to you. You hear like, oh, she's never going to learn again. Maybe she's reflecting, she's having trouble in school in math, or she's having trouble in whatever math she's in. The second is we're not asking everybody to be a mathematician. So just like reading, I'm not asking everybody to be fluent in Shakespeare, but you have to be able to read regular newspaper. The same thing as math. Being able to be fluent in algebra is absolutely every single person's ability, reachable ability for the every single kid. So we're not going to ask them to necessarily win prizes in math, but we have to recognize the necessity of math. But you might want to ask her specific questions. Why does she not like it? Is she having trouble learning, or are they having trouble teaching her? I think more than not, it could be that she's really not having a very good teacher-student relationship. Another kid said, my daughter is 5. Another person said, apologize. My daughter is 5. I spend all my time with her after her school. We set up the rule TV is only for weekend. Yeah, you set a routine. She's willing to do that. Now she has a challenge reading class. She feels it's a little bit difficult. Well, I think it's a matter of degree also. My grandmother used to say the best teaching is, 我祖母会说，就是说她要跳起来才能够到那个果子，她可以把果子摘下来。你如果她跳了以后你也摘不到果子，那她就会比较困难。So when you jump up and you can get the fruit, right, from the tree, then that's the appropriate level of difficulty. So it's not about, it's maybe something about you pushing her, but more about whether the level is appropriate for her. You need to figure it out. with her. Just observe her and see how long it takes to read. And when she's 5, I am very, very reluctant to recommend any classes for 5-year-old. That's why I don't start teaching until 4th grade. It's really difficult for kids to take more classes in a classroom setting. It's not right for them at 5. What's more important is they learn from everyday life, and they go and sit in the corner and pick up a book and read. That's so much more enjoyable than for a 5-year-old to sit in the classroom. 你的课上如果孩子解出难题，给孩子奖励吗？什么是你给的奖品呢？This is a question about my math class. When they solve difficult problems, yeah, I don't give them prizes in that particular case. I give prizes in 2 ways. One is when they collaboratively solve problems as a group. We just do these little competitions. 就是我们一起组织起来，小朋友一起做一个 competition， 比如说2组，那就是为了鼓励他们做难的题目。奖品最简单啦 ，sticker 啊，小朋友啊。那如果是我在1年的结束，我会给孩子奖品，是因为要看他作业做的有多少，他做了很多很多题，其实做对倒是次要的，主要是他的努力，那我会给他奖品，就一个小的数学的书啊，或者是那样子的 ，OK？ What do you suggest to promote donkey and bull teenager? Yeah, the way I'm talking about donkey and bull is exactly about their temperament, how their temperaments are quite different. I just want to emphasize that being different temperament, having different temperament means you really have to deal with them differently. The donkeys, I actually tend to give them much more encouragement than discouragement. So there was a joke. It's not a joke. There was a story. 就是马龙和张继科，就是你们知道打乒乓的吧 ？How many of you know about 马龙和张继科？就是打乒乓的2个世界冠军。就是张继科说，就是刘国梁是他们的教练。刘国梁说呢，他说马龙和张继科这2个人完全不一样，我不能教他们是一样的。马龙吧，他其实很要强，所以你一讲他就非常的难受，就你一批评他非常难受，然后呢他就蔫了。张继科吧，你一批评他就跳起来跟你吵。那实际上张继科就有点像 bull 哈，马龙就有点像 donkey。那马龙这样的孩子吧，其实哈你就要非常小心，因为他非常想做好，而且呢你就不能用很多的这个严厉的话来打击他，这样他就容易就失去信心了。张继科这个人你可以稍微压他一下，这个刘国梁怎么说的，就是说他可以觉得他还在跟你争论，你不会担心他就是彻底丧失信心，但是你要压制他的那种 aggression， 你不能让他那么的愤怒，你就要好好跟他说，但你可以跟他讨论，他就不会太容易，所以这个不同的孩子是不一样的。The second question, what are the benefits to have a pet she wants? She really wants to have a lot, but I just felt it is too much trouble. Oh, I have very good experience with that, with the pets. 其实这个 pet 的问题很多人问过我，我也觉得我当时是花了很多的心思在孩子的身上做这件事的。So about the pets, I had kids, I have all these children who love pets, but I know that I want to get them ready. Many parents tell me that the pets became their pets. The kids refused to take care of it. So I took a long time to get my kids ready to have a pet. I first, when they were 5 and 8, I think, or 7 and 10, I forgot. I signed them up to a 4-H program. These days it's hard because of COVID, but there used to be all these 4-H programs where you can help raise other people's animal. So every week my kids need to go to the 4-H in the farm to help scoop the poops of pygmy goats for like a year. And the next year they were going to do rabbits. So they are very prepared to deal with pets before they got it. That's the first step. Second, I made them babysit for 30 hours, each kid. It's like driving. You know how my kids are learning driving? They have to drive certain hours. So they need to practice actually taking care of pets before we have a long-term commitment to pets. I think that's what I usually do with everything. You know that it takes progression for them to learn. So you want to let them achieve reachable goals so that they can be reaching these difficult goals step by step. You need to teach them or lead them to do that. When I was doing the Chinese with them or math with them, it's all the same. It's about appropriate progression. Yeah. Time to what? You have 3 kids. How do you manage read them or do activity with all of them since they have different? Yes. Time. Okay, you have 3 kids. How did you manage to read with them or do activities with all of them since they have different interests and levels? The most important thing, I agree, is to actually spend individual time with them. I do try my best to do it. I have been lucky because I was a housewife for 10 years and then I worked from home for 8 years. So I pretty much was always home, even when I was working as an actuary. But what I emphasize is to specifically decide to spend time with one kid. So you need to make that into your agenda. So I'm like, oh, I spend so much time with one of them for his math competition. So I want to go to the other kids' volleyball with him. So when the older one is older, he can go by himself to his math competition, for example. I also made it so that they gradually were taking the airplane rides longer and longer. So twice I just sent them on their own on the flight to China. So when they're ready, you need to let go more and more so that they are happier and you are happier. You don't have to accompany them every single time. Do you see that? Yeah. Would you please go back to the slide? Shows a picture of a clock. Okay. What's your suggestion for the donkey teenage boys? Well, for the donkey, I think the most important thing is you have to recognize their guai, which is obedience. Maybe part of the reason is they want to please you. So that pleasing is actually a double-edged sword. Because if they are pleasing you and they are never able to do it, they could retreat back to passive aggression. If you give them the right feedback that, you're happy with them, with who they are, then they are more likely to open up and more bold in their next choices. So they tend to be more introvert, I think. So that means that you just want to draw them out. You don't want to make them so that they feel that if they're not as obedient as they were before, you're just gonna not be happy with them. Yeah, that's not gonna work when they're teenagers. So I'm gonna go to the parenting book a little bit, then I'll go to the clock, okay? How do you deal with the kids who lied to get around? Yeah. I think that's a very good question, but it depends on the matter of degree. Does your kid lie a lot, like all the time with everything? Or they lie once in a while, like, when they broke something, they just lie a little bit. It depends. My husband usually say, if you caught them lying once, they must have lied quite a few times because, they were just not caught. You can, be very severe with them during that time, but you need to give them, you need to also think back of why they were lying, because if they will get benefit. She does not like math. Oh, she lied by saying she has done her math. Yeah, but she did not do it. Yeah, so that's different from the morality. They stole things that they lied, that they used money to buy it. If she doesn't like math and she lied by saying she's done, she kind of wants you off her back, and she may not have gotten her natural consequences. Did she lie and not do math, and then was she caught by her teachers though? Did she get punished by her teacher or not punished? Or did she get into trouble in school because she hasn't done it? Yeah, so that may be one of the natural consequences, one that she does. She needs to feel pain in order to change. That's one. The second is she may have real difficulty in math. So if you go and stand on her side and ask, where in is exactly are you having trouble with in those, say, 5 problems that you think are very, very easy, but she may have difficulty. So ask her, which part do you may need help. Do you want me to teach you one thing, or you want to help her sort of get over that little hump so she doesn't feel like she's helpless? Yeah, I think that's very important in your it's not about 100% or 0%. How to help kids better manage their time, work more efficiently, and not procrastinate. Yeah, that's really a biggest problem. Procrastination also reflects the fact of the lack of pleasure, really. Hold on, let me go back to the clock. How do I go back to something immediately? So, procrastination often reflects sometimes that they have a lot more pain when they're doing the work, especially when they start. So oftentimes, a lot of suggestion, you can read a lot of procrastination books. One is to break down their tasks to very small parts, and you encourage them to do that. Even if they make tiny bit of progress, you praise them. And the second is, see that in the very beginning, the initial start, maybe they only need a little bit of help in that place. Just help them up to that amount. Do not nag, do not complain. Just say, can I help you with this, starting this thing? And they may get your help one time and they enjoy it. And they may also learn to ask for help at other times. It's very important to recognize when you ask for help, because when you need help, like me, I'm always very sort of feeling self-sufficient. But to do this lecture, I enlisted a lot of people's help, and they are so helpful. That's why I want to give a shout out to Andrew, Phyllis, Stephanie, and Elaine, who helped me do all different things. So we all need help. Otherwise, we tend to be feeling overwhelmed and procrastinate. So stand on your child's side, I would say. Help them go over a little bump, but there are 2 things very, very important. One, do not always mention it. It's like, oh, you were so, especially in front of others. Like, oh, my child is so procrastinating. That's why I helped him with that. Do not brag about that. The second is, do not make it feel like you're doing them a favor. Just be matter of fact, because I also need help. Okay? I let my son play games freely after he finished his study, but I found him rushing through his study, without caring about quality, and did not spend enough time learning. We hope he can learn hard and play hard, but he just plays hard if I don't monitor him. I know it's not right to constantly monitor him and remind him. What's your suggestion? Actually, it's also partially the fault of his learning his learning institution. They should give him appropriate feedback so that he knows that he was rushing through. Is he not in high school yet? This parent that I'm asking you, is he not in high school yet? Yeah, that's the thing. If you listen to my math class, lecture, you will know. The unfortunate thing is the U.S. has middle school and elementary school giving almost no feedback, other than some of the best schools in the world, in the nation, maybe 1% or 0.1%. So when they do the homework, they don't even get the feedback on whether they did it right or wrong, where they need to improve. So he really rushed through the studies. Partially, of course, he wants to play game, but partially it's about the feedback. So I think you might want to consider 2 things. One is he really will have some reckoning to do, which means in high school, he'll face reality. He'll have so much work that he lacked in middle school, the holes he had, which he will find it very frustrating. But it's not a good idea to warn him like what I just said either, because we don't want to really frustrate him too much. So you might want to, how to say it? That's the reason why when I give math classes, I give a pre-test. So I tell the kids, it's like measuring your height, measuring your weight, or your blood pressure. So you have a realistic view of your actual level. One of my students told me, the father told me that she is in one state that she thinks she's considered to be the best in school in math. But she knows that when her friends go out to other states, when they go to school, they became not so good in math because that state is just not very high in math level. So she has two conflicting feelings. One is she feel like because she's Asian, everybody around her expect her to be good in math. The second is she is good in math in grade. I mean, in the, the exam in 8th grade, but she's worried that she feel like an imposter. Have you heard of the imposter syndrome? So she feel like she's actually not as good as other people think she is. So I want the kids to gradually learn to assess themselves appropriately. And that takes a lot of practice, and that takes a lot of, not practice, from the parent side, is to give them good nutrients. If we use eating as an analogy, if you let the kids eat really, really good food, such as Michelin or, guo yan, Chinese yummy food, they will know what good food tastes like. In study, they also need to see the good ones. For example, if you talk about, I don't know about the study, what you're talking about. If you are talking about English, are they reading really good articles such as New York Times? Are they reading very high quality writing, such as this one? I don't think I have it here. There's one called the Best Essays of Science and Technology of the Year, Best Essays of something else. Are they actually recognizing the quality? In terms of math, have they done any difficult problems to see that maybe they're not that good? So that kind of thing, they have a good taste, knowing what's good, what's bad. Then they will have more motivation to get better. It's like sports. When you watch Liu Guoliang and Ma Long and Zhang Jike play ping pong, then you know your ping pong is not that good. Then you need to improve, that kind of thing. Okay, I think that's pretty much it. Everybody asked their questions. So I'm really happy that we lasted this long, and I appreciate your coming. And again, I'm hoping to post it soon, but you can always email me if you have more questions. One last question. If she doesn't like your finding her a tutor or a teacher, that means she may have had really bad experience with past. And also you have to look at her age for this mother about the kid not like drawing, not like math. At different age, the way of teaching is completely different. So you just have to be very careful with starting from her point of view. What is the most appropriate things, right, guys? Yeah. So don't do something. Maybe sit there sometimes is a better way. In terms of learning, I forgot to mention, when you are 9 learning a piano versus when you're 5, the speed of learning is much, much, much faster. So unless you're really one of those proteges that will get, international award at 9 or 10, learning from 9, learning piano is really very, very, hugely enough for people who are enjoying playing piano. So it's a matter of degree. Just like when we were a baby at 1, we're not going to teach them how to run because we haven't taught them how to walk, or they haven't learned to walk yet. So you need to look at what time is appropriate for them. And that the only way you can find out is actually by talking to them and communicating with them and figuring out where their most difficult part is that makes them having trouble. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed it. At least I enjoyed it, hearing from all of you. And it's really helpful for me to see what some of the difficulties are. And we'll see you